The gun was trembling in her hand, pointed straight at my daughter's chest. My heart stopped as I screamed, "She's got a gun! Oh my God, she's aiming at Emily." The woman, Margaret Hensley, stood there, her eyes wild, her voice a guttural snarl. "You think you can just ignore my HOA one last time?" she roared, like a cornered beast. I was frozen, my hands shaking, my mind racing for a way to stop this madness. But Emily? She just stood there, calm as a statue, not a flicker of fear in her eyes. How could she be so composed? That's when it hit me. Here was something about my daughter I didn't know. A secret she'd kept hidden, even from me. And when it all unraveled, the truth would twist this nightmare into something none of us could have predicted. It all started 3 months ago when my wife, Laura, and I thought we'd finally made it. After 30 years of grinding as a structural engineer, Laura wrangling middle schoolers who probably tested her patience more than any HOA tyrant ever could, we'd saved enough to buy our dream home. A charming lakeside cottage on Crystal Cove, a quiet spot in Northern California with a private dock that had been grandfathered in since the 70s. The kind of place where you imagine sipping coffee at sunrise, the water lapping gently, maybe teaching the grandkids to fish one day. Our deed was ironclad, exempting us from any homeowners association. We thought we were free. God, were we wrong? That first Wednesday morning, everything changed. I was out front, watering Laura's rose garden, when I heard this absurd honking, like a goose in its death throes. I turned to see a golf cart tricked out like some discount cop car, blinking yellow lights straight from a hardware store clearance rack, orange cones dangling off the back, and signs that screamed "designed at a print shop." Behind the wheel was Margaret, late 50s, decked out in a makeshift security uniform patched together from thrift store finds. She stepped out like she was exiting a presidential motorcade, clutching a clipboard the size of a diner menu, her eyes glinting with a desperation that should have been my first warning. "Excuse me," she barked, her voice straining for authority. "I need to speak to the homeowner." Now, I tried to be friendly, introducing myself as Thomas, but she barely acknowledged me before launching into a tirade about HOA fees, community rules, and mandatory compliance that made no sense. Her hands shook as she gripped that clipboard, her voice cracking like she was pleading for her life. "Every property must join the Crystal Cove Homeowners Association," she insisted, her tone more desperate than commanding. "The enrollment fee is $600, due immediately." When I calmly explained our deed exempted us, her face twisted with panic, like I'd just unraveled her entire world. "Everyone must comply," she stammered, the word comply dripping with dread. That's when a neighbor, Mrs. Larson, a kind woman who'd lived here for decades, pulled me aside after Margaret sped off, muttering about enforcement measures. "Her name's Margaret Hensley," Mrs. Larson whispered, glancing around nervously. "Lost her corporate job 2 years ago, then her marriage fell apart. She and her husband, Paul, are barely scraping by. She's clung to this HOA president role like it's her lifeline. We're all scared to cross her. She gets unhinged when anyone questions her. That weekend, our daughter Emily came to visit, and thank God she did. She's always been sharp, noticing things Laura and I miss. While we sipped coffee on the porch, she caught Margaret driving by twice, slowing down to snap photos of our perfectly legal dock. "Dad," Emily said, setting her mug down with a look that meant trouble. "Something's seriously wrong with that woman. Her behavior, it's either a mental breakdown or a scam." I should have listened harder, but hindsight's a cruel teacher. By Monday, Margaret's antics escalated into absurdity. Taped to our door was a violation notice on fake Crystal Cove HOA letterhead, the handwriting erratic, random words underlined like a manifesto. She was fining us $200 for excessive dock usage and unauthorized lakefront activity. I'm not kidding, those were her exact words. Laura found it first, waving the paper like it was radioactive. "Thomas, this woman's trying to fine us for sitting on our own dock." It would have been laughable if it wasn't so clearly the work of someone spiraling. That evening, Paul, Margaret's husband, showed up at our door, looking like a man crushed by the weight of the world. "Please, Thomas," he whispered, glancing back toward their house. "Just pay her something. She's not right since losing her job. I'm scared of what she'll do if you keep refusing." His voice broke, and when I pressed him, he just shook his head and shuffled away, like a man defeated. Meanwhile, Emily had been making calls. Dad, she told me over the phone, I filed a report with the state police. My colleague, Detective Harper, is taking it on since I'm family. I didn't fully grasp what she meant by conflict of interest, but I was just glad someone with real authority was paying attention. Tuesday brought more madness. Our security camera installed after that first incident caught Margaret at midnight, in pajamas and a reflective vest, measuring our dock with a tape measure, muttering about compliance violations like she was conducting a federal investigation. Laura and I watched the footage over coffee, torn between laughter and calling for a wellness check. But Thursday morning, Detective Harper's call turned my blood cold. Thomas, have you noticed anything odd about Emily lately? He asked, his tone grim. Why was he asking about my daughter? What did she have to do with this unhinged neighbor? The next day, Harper called again, and the puzzle pieces started falling into place. Margaret Hensley isn't who she says she is, he began. Her real name's Patricia Vaughn. She fled Oregon after embezzlement charges 2 years ago. This isn't her first fake HOA scam. My coffee went cold as he explained how she'd run identical schemes in Oregon and Nevada, targeting retirement communities where people trust too easily. She'd stolen $90,000 from Crystal Cove alone, through ghost vendors, fake contracts, and forged signatures. Bogus charges like $1,500 monthly for lake maintenance, in a community with no public lake access. Paul had been secretly feeding evidence to the police, terrified of Margaret's threats to ruin him if he didn't comply. Margaret's harassment hit overdrive after we sent a certified letter, with Harper copied, refusing her HOA and demanding she stop. She followed Laura to the grocery store, loudly proclaiming, "That's the woman from the non-compliant house." Laura came home shaking, describing how Margaret trailed her through aisles, snapping photos of her cart. The violations grew crazier: fines for excessive bird noise from sparrows in our trees, unauthorized flower pot placement we didn't own. Mrs. Larson whispered that Margaret had been terrorizing the neighborhood for months, scaring kids and bullying seniors into paying fake fees. Then Paul dropped a bombshell. "She's asking about cops," he whispered, showing me a gun store receipt. "Says it's for HOA enforcement." That's when it clicked: Margaret wasn't just a nuisance. She was dangerous. Harper confirmed she'd bought a handgun and was taking shooting lessons, asking about citizens' arrests and detaining non-compliant residents. The FBI stepped in, treating her as an armed suspect. Surveillance caught her staking out Emily's apartment, her workplace, even her favorite diner, with notebooks detailing Emily's routines and chilling questions like, "Is the sheriff's daughter the real threat?" Emily finally revealed her secret. "Dad, I've been a county sheriff for 3 years," she said, her voice heavy with guilt. "I've been working with the feds but kept my distance to protect the case." My heart swelled with pride, but also fear. She'd been carrying this burden alone, watching us suffer while staying professional. The climax came on a tense Tuesday afternoon in October 2025. Margaret's golf cart, now decked out with stolen emergency lights and blaring fake police chatter, rolled up to our house. She emerged in a cobbled-together cop costume, complete with a toy badge and a gun on her hip, screaming through a bullhorn, "Thomas, submit to inspection or face arrest." Emily stepped outside, calm and commanding. "Ma'am, you're on private property. Leave now." Margaret's eyes locked on Emily, her voice venomous. "You? The problem daughter." She drew her gun, hands shaking, screaming about criminal HOA refusal. Neighbors dialed 911 as FBI agents, already in position, closed in. Emily, hands visible, stayed steady. "I'm Sheriff Emily Carter, badge 3921. Drop your weapon." Margaret's face collapsed: shock, denial, then defeat. Her gun hit the ground as agents swarmed, cuffing her while she ranted about her authority. Paul, tears in his eyes, handed over boxes of evidence, freeing himself from her control. Margaret, aka Patricia Vaughn, was sentenced to 25 years for wire fraud, assault on an officer, and conspiracy, her scams totaling $400,000 across 3 states. Our community healed, led by Mrs. Larson's transparent HOA. Emily's career soared, her case a model for law enforcement training. Laura's garden bloomed, our dock became a haven, and we finally had the retirement we dreamed of. But Margaret's final words haunt me. "You think this is over? I know your daughter's real secret." What did she mean? Was there more to Emily's story? What could Margaret have uncovered that even we didn't know? Comment below, what do you think Margaret's last threat meant? Could Emily be hiding something bigger? Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Was our refusal worth the risk, or did we provoke a monster?